any way. It means so much to me that you're all here. My family and friends, thank you for being here tonight. Your support has been monumental. My wonderful fiance, Chano, thank you. It's been a crazy week, crazy semester. And of course, all the wonderful professors and educators here tonight. And finally, my incredible mentors. Where is he? Mr. Lorenzo Swain, get out here. Where are you? Oh. Thank you. And Mr. Luke Warren. I truly would not, this would not have been possible. I would not have been able to make the things that I envisioned without these two. Truly endlessly grateful for them. And I'm going to take a brief second. If you have not done an internship, do an internship because it changed how I think about art, it changed how I make art. I only learned from it, so you should totally do an internship. For those that don't know me, I'm Lizzie and welcome to my show, The Weight of Being. So this exhibition is an exploration of my identity with a focus on the duality of sorrow and joy. I tend to be a bubbly, colorful person, but just as many of you, there's been a lot of trauma and a lot of experiences. I experienced an immense amount of grief and loss in a very short period of time, and I'm ready to share my experiences through art. So, my functional pieces, they're heavily inspired by the Memphis design movement. And my personal needs are wants. I needed more storage in my studio and in my home. I was interested in the aesthetics of acrylic. I was interested in the aesthetics of Memphis design. But at every big box store, they're like muted or they're clear and they're boring. And I figured I could make them, and so I did. I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know the names of the aesthetics, the movements. I was just on the brink of what developing what I'm into, what I'm interested in, and what I wanted to take away from my experiences at Austin. The colors and shapes and the chaotic organization isn't just a parallel to me, but I was surrounded by these designs in media, in childhood, and the vibrancy, it only brought me joy, and it's been that way since I was a child. The majority of my practice is heavily focused on research. The materials I work with, they're not the most easy to work with. Researching materials, functionality, manufacturing, design movements. I have a love-hate relationship with the materials I use. You can heat plastics and metals and get them to bend. You can manipulate them, but they're very fragile and not the easiest things to work with. It's easier for me to get lost while I'm creating, while I'm working on a piece. Typically, while I'm making, I'm also working through trauma and grief mentally, and it's kind of coincides with the progression of a piece. I find a lot of parallels between emotions and the materials I use. You have to give it space to do what it needs to so it can become what's intended. Tonight, I hope my work is a vessel for dialogue about grief, child loss, and death and rebirth. There's a focus on becoming part of your work emotionally and conceptually and integrating the artist's life and their processes. I hope you take something away tonight, and I hope you find community in what I'm sharing. I'm very open to questions, so please feel free to ask and look to the interest-wise would be acrylic or plastic.
Do you think you're going to focus more on functional art, or do you?
I would like to develop it in just to continuing to blend more conceptual pieces with functionality.
The table's so cool.
Thank you. Yes, I am hoping in the near future I will have more tables for sale. I am taking commissions. I'm really interested in both, more conceptual pieces and functional pieces. But I think right now I'm working on trying to blend those together and what that really looks like for my practice.
I'll ask you something. I'm emotional. What would you say was the most enjoyable through the process of pulling this together?
Other than getting it done, the healing I took away from it. If you were to ask me about miscarriage 5 years ago, I would be crying right now. I would not be as open, easy to talk with. But I'm really ready to use grief and trauma as a way of getting out to my community, making connections, giving space to grief and mental health awareness and child loss.
In the contrast, the really strong contrast you have in the show. So you talk about joy and grief as an emotional contrast. Certainly the really high key of color and the black or darker colors. I guess the one that I'm really curious about is this space, this sort of white cube space of the gallery versus the really domestic setting of a lot of the pieces. And I know you worked with Lorenzo, as you mentioned, in the gallery. Like, like a multi-part question. Have you thought about presenting your work in other non-white cube spaces or altering the white cube, or is there something that this space does for the presentation that is really exciting to you in setting up that contrast?
I wouldn't say it's specifically something in this space. I am interested in working in developing my show as maybe a traveling show in other spaces. I love organization. I have to stay organized. The materials I use, they're not the cheapest. Like I literally cannot afford like a miscut or a misbent. The first part of your question?
The first part of the question was whether you considered maybe having it in a non-white cube space.
Yes, I will say I think it does make the colors pop a little bit more, but I am still interested. I want to do more with lighting. I've worked with some LED lighting in a few of my pieces. I would like to go on and explore neon spaces in darker realms and finding that combination there and seeing how that interacts with my practice.
Thanks.
There was contrast between the materials, specifically in the collage work. Could you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah. So I went into collage not thinking much of it, but it was actually such a foundational class for me. Billy, you're an amazing, amazing artist, and thank you. I carry your wisdom with me every day. A lot of my sculptural work was developed conceptually through my collage pieces. Collage was very healing for me. I went into it not expecting much, but I walked away with just so much from the images, the sharing of everyone else's collages. And it's fun to give heavy lifting a break and focus on cutting out paper very precisely.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite piece that you've made so far in this exhibit?
I would say the crib because it was the most healing for me.
Good question. So, did you anticipate the reflection on the glass in the crib, and how does that add to meaning in
Yes.
the work?
So The space does it well. You know, the reflection could definitely potentially be improved, but as it stands, the meaning of the constant reflection is the heaviness of the loss, the grave on top of the grave. It's a lot of reflection, and I wanted the viewer to literally see themselves in it and be confronted with that type of loss. See what type of dialogue that can create.
What would you say has most inspired you and kept you going throughout art?
Honestly, sometimes, I don't know, sometimes you just have to keep going. You know, I didn't really start figuring out what I wanted to do until my sophomore year here, but today the thing that just keeps me going is I want to do better. I want to do better for myself. I want to do better for my family. I want to make a difference. I want to open the floor for dialogues and just gotta keep going.
Can I say something? I cannot tell you how proud I am of you right now. This is amazing. This is absolutely amazing.
Lizzie will stay here and hang around tonight a little longer. So if you guys have a personal question